But they say, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time.
So
I get excited. I get
sometimes
excited about this part of it.
Sometimes I think you miss your calling, because I was just sitting here like, why didn't you become an investment advisor?
my
Because I
God.
think you literally, this is like a side passion of yours, if you will.
Maybe maybe it's never too late.
Maybe it's not. Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
The podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. Hey, babe, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm refreshed. And thank you for giving me a chance to put my makeup on, because quite honestly, I don't be wanting to do these videos with no makeup on. I have done it. But I'm not trying to have you see, the diminished beauty.
Look, you are beautiful with and without makeup.
Why, thank you.
So,
but we gotta, take it up, right?
You can have it on or have it off, and you're still beautiful.
So you know how you say you look good, you feel good, you do good, you do good. It's all good.
Yes.
So it starts with you look good, you feel good. And so I'm like, okay, I feel more of myself.
I got you. I feel you.
With a little light dusting, a 5-minute face.
I feel you.
What makes you feel like, you ready for the world?
I don't know. When I get up and all my edges are straight and shave, and you put, clothes on that make you feel good. See? You just have a different little swagger. You move differently.
You look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
And then you had your coffee.
Yeah, I had coffee today, but I'm not a super big coffee drinker. Maybe 1 cup a day, but I know some people, they can't function without.
Listen, my mama can't function
coffee.
Without her coffee.
In the morning, it's like, give me my coffee.
I'm like that about Zip Fizz. I need Zip Fizz to hear me right now. We need a sponsorship up in this piece, because I don't do coffee, but I do my Zip Fizz religiously daily.
Look.
My B12 got to get there.
Yeah, well, it gets you hyped up. So, but it's the new year, and we wanted to make sure we kicked it off and just continue to bring, things to the table that people want to hear about. And it's the beginning of the year. It's a perfect time to talk about, investing and like getting yourself on track, because now is the time to set those limits. People are going to potentially be getting raises. I know in the first quarter of the year, that's typically when companies will do the reviews and performance reviews from last year. And that could be a great time for you to, turn the dial up on your 401k if you're investing in it. I know some companies have that feature where you can add additional percent every year until you reach a certain level. Or if you're getting a raise and you haven't been funding it, maybe this is the time that you start to fund your 401k or other investment, tools or vehicles that we'll talk about and get into those. But I think it's a perfect time to kind of kickstart the new year with some, talk about investing. And I guess you invest so you can retire. So they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would use this as a time to discuss their retirement goals and how much they want to be saving and that kind of thing. And so it is, timely to discuss it. And I think it's important. One of the biggest things I think is important to understand about investing is that I don't think it's ever too early to invest. And I also think you always have time. I think a lot of people get concerned.
That's definitely a myth.
Yeah, people get concerned that they can't, that it's too late. That is always the issue or the question mark. Is it too late?
Yeah.
And even if you haven't done anything up till now, I think that there are, certainly things to take advantage of when it concerns retirement investing or investing for any other purposes. Specifically, what we're going to talk about is investing for retirement, be it now or 20 or 30 years into the future. And so we just want to encourage you that no matter what age you are today, there are always benefits to ensuring that you are saving for your future to make your future brighter.
Yeah. As I hear you talk about that, the first thing that came to my mind was don't give up. Because
Yeah.
when people feel like, man, I'm of a certain age, I haven't been doing it, I've lost time, and now what am I going to do? It's too late. You can't give up, because there are still things that you can do to create, a nest egg, as they say, to fund the life that you want to live. And I think that's something that we'll have to talk about. Is like when you retire, what type of lifestyle are you saving for? Because I'll be honest, if I had that $25 million get dropped on me today, I might retire tomorrow. I don't necessarily need that much money to retire, but I would certainly just consider what I'm doing, and if I wanted to do something else, if I wanted to be philanthropic, I might do it tomorrow.
Well,
That's a whole different
it
podcast
is.
episode
It
though.
is. But I will say I think that it's important to really think about what it is you do want in retirement. I'll be honest. For me, it's less clear on when I would step away from working. I'm approaching that just beyond mid-career person, okay? We don't need to go into numbers or details, okay? But
Oh
I will
Jesus.
say that it is actually dependent. When I retire or step away from working, it is definitely dependent on when you do it. And I'm probably closer to that than I am the early career person.
I
So
think you'll probably stop before I do.
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if I will, like, because I can still see myself speaking or writing books. Like, I honestly think
Yeah.
without the pressure, and I do think that that's something I would still do in the background, because honestly, I don't know that I would want. What would I do with my time? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a person who would volunteer all of my time. I will volunteer some of my time, but yeah. So
But I think let's get into some of the specifics because we could talk about this like on and on and on. But
yeah.
I think when people think about when you should start investing for retirement, my thing is start as early as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just said, whether you're starting later, it's okay. But if you are out there and you can start as early as possible, and I'll give a perfect example of that. Like we have adult children, and I
Young adult
told,
children. They're still young adults.
yes, they are. They are. They're young adults, but they're in their 20s, so they
Mm-hmm.
are
Oh
adults.
my gosh.
Um, but I told our children if I had to do one thing over again, I would have started a Roth IRA sooner. And so our youngest daughter started her Roth, and she has funded it this year, and she will be funding it every year moving forward is the goal. I'm like, that's perfect. If you could start that early while you're in college or right out of college, that's what I would encourage people to do because they may say, well, I don't have enough money. You have money to do what you want to do with.
Yeah.
And if you can start it, it's going to set her up on a path that is going to have a huge impact in the type of life that she wants to live later on when she reaches those retirement ages. And if you can make it work now when you're younger, you will always potentially be able to find a way to make it work as you get older and your income increases and things like that. So I just say start as early as possible. And when you begin work, start that 401k. Don't miss that free money.
Mm-hmm. I would say too, here is something that I think a lot of people don't tend to think about if they are starting what some might call later, meaning you haven't been consistently putting aside dollars into any type of retirement vehicle. And let's just say you are beyond mid-career professionals. So you're, let's say, over the age of 40, 45, and you have not been doing the your best job of saving for retirement. One of the things that I tell people to do is maybe your focus, just I feel like we need to put this out here. Maybe your focus is getting out of debt, having an emergency fund, and considering when you can pay the house off. So paying off the house is an investment. Now, we're not
Hmm.
going to get into all of that, but I just feel like if you're starting what you might consider late, or you don't have quite as much time. Let's just say you're within 15 years of retirement and you haven't done enough to save to be able to live on the funds that you have. Eliminating payments like a mortgage, the biggest one that you might have, is a great strategy. So I just want you to know that there are ways to look at this a little differently as well. And I would consider calculating what it's going to take for you to actually pay that mortgage off. I'm not saying do this in lieu of saving for retirement, but I am saying if you are, let's just say, over the age of 50, you probably need to shift some of your strategy to see how you can pay the house off. Because if you can do that, then whatever that's usually the biggest payment that you have. And if you don't have that, then you need less money for retirement. And
Yeah.
so I
And
think
you can start to do some other things with that income.
right. So when that mortgage is paid off, you can absolutely put some of that towards, saving for your future. I think you should do both, but let's not forget that that is a huge piece of why people need money in retirement, is because they're paying for a mortgage. And if you can eliminate it, that reduces the need dramatically.
So I'm hearing kind of two camps of thought in a sense, like early phase individuals that are starting out, maybe go ahead, get into, your company, 401k, start a Roth. They may be renting, maybe haven't joined the housing market yet. And if you are later phase, if you own a house, but you feel like you haven't been investing into your retirement vehicles, be it, Roth or 401k or whatever, you could use the house paying that off as a means to reduce the need for income
Absolutely.
in retirement. So it's kind of a couple of different ways to look at it. And you're building equity with an asset,
Yep.
be it, real estate, because real estate is part of a retirement portfolio.
Yep.
When you consider that.
Yeah.
It could be, a number of different things. Either you're pulling income from it, or, you sell the house, and, depending upon where your living situation, you can use that income for, living expenses as well. But
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. So in light of that, let's talk about places to invest. Where do you put money that you do not want to touch until you decide to retire?
so I think the very first place, if you are working, which most people are, either self-employed or for an organization, if you work for a corporate organization, naturally your 401k is the first place to go. Because typically most companies will have some sort of match, and that is just free money. And like we told our oldest daughter, look, start investing with the company 401k at minimum at the level by which they match, because that's free money that you'd be leaving on the table if you didn't. And my suggestion is always, as you increase your income and you increase your ability, try and get up to that maximum limit that you can put into your 401k, because I think that's a great place to start.
And to distinguish, we're saying always get your match, like whatever the company's matching.
3%, 4%, 5, 6, whatever it is.
Yeah,
put that percent in.
But the maximum that you can put in is dramatically different than that.
Yes.
So, I think
for 2025, I think the limit might have gone up by like $500.
Yeah, it usually goes up by $500 every year, and I think it's 27,000. Is it?
No,
It's
it
23,000. 23,000.
and 24, so maybe 25. I didn't check before we started, but it may be 23,500.
So that is the max. So when you think about putting money, that's almost $2,000 a month. So it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if every year in your career you are going into your season where they're giving you the increase, you're getting your just regular merit increases, you turn the dial up another percent, you turn it up another percent, until you have maxed it out for your income and for your the maximum amount you can put into that 401k. So if that is something you do routinely, that is the commitment that you make, then it actually becomes a little easier. What you laughing at?
Now, let's be real. To do that,
Yes.
it's going to come at a cost. And that cost might be you're not increasing lifestyle, because people typically, as they increase their income, they want to increase their lifestyle.
Yeah.
That could be, oh, we're going to buy a new house, or we're going to buy a new car, or your wardrobe elevates or shifts. So, unless you have infinite, income and you can do everything, you have got to make some decisions.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. 1%, you're not going to feel that near as
That's
much
true.
as if you go to 10%, right? And so I
That's
think
why you may have to just start small and
yeah.
do the match.
Yep.
And then do it another percent, then
Yep.
another percent, and another percent, and then you feel that less over time.
And so it is. I looked it up. So it is $23,500 for $23,500 as the
Yes.
contribution limit for individuals putting into their 401k in 2025. And so here, and this is for a 401k, 403bs, 457 plans, like all of the plans. So we say 401k because that's the world we live in. He has a 401k plan.
Or it could
at
be
work.
if you're self-employed, it could be a SEP IRA.
And those limits are different, right?
Right.
So when we're talking about where to invest, the normal, I shouldn't say normal. I should
think the
say
general,
the most traditional, the traditional ways that people do it: 401k, 457, 403b.
Yep, if you work for a nonprofit.
Yep, and then if you're self-employed, it could be a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. But anybody can do a Roth IRA.
Yes.
And a Roth IRA has a limit of $7,000 for one calendar year. And
so I think you bring up a good point, because people say, well, man, what am I supposed to do? And I think
where do you put it?
Right. 401k
is first.
Or a SEP IRA or a 503c, a 403b.
Yeah, 457b. That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, these numbers. And you have to, this is kind of the base.
Okay.
I say that's the base,
it's
retirement
what I would say. It's the base because it's what's easily accessible. That's the word that you can get at work. Start there, and it reduces your taxable income for the year that you do it in.
I think that's a very important point that you bring up, is that those investment tools reduce your taxable income. And everybody wants to reduce their taxable income
today.
And a Roth IRA, I would say that's kind of your next step.
Mm-hmm.
Our daughter, we told her to do a Roth because she's not working. She doesn't have an employer to invest in a 401k. Mm-hmm. And a Roth IRA is after-tax dollars that you put into that investment. So you get paid, then you put money into a Roth.
So you don't get the tax advantage today.
But that money grows tax-free.
Which is why they have a limit on it. Which is why it's only $7,000 a year. And if your income is over a certain amount, you can't even contribute.
Right. There's the individual limit, and there is the combined couple income limit.
Yeah.
So that's a big one, because I always talk about this, what it does, a 401k is pre-tax, so those things will grow, and the compounded interest, when you pull the money out, you pay taxes on it. Mm-hmm. A Roth IRA, you've already paid taxes on it. And as it grows, it's all tax-free. Mm-hmm. But you need both, because one helps to offset the other. And we won't get into that. You need to talk to your investment professional, and they can help you understand that. You have to ask questions, and keep asking questions until you fully understand, because those are just a couple of investment tools that you can utilize to begin with.
So one of the things that we did, I know your regret is that we didn't start a Roth IRA sooner. But I will say one of the things that we did was both of us invested in our 401ks from the beginning of our marriage. And so we didn't
actually we made a decision that we were going to invest in your 401k because you had a better match. And we were going to take my income, because I was in sales and I had bonuses, and we were going to reduce the debt with a lot of that income. So for a short period of time, we were investing in your 401k, getting the match, and we were taking my income and we were reducing debt with that income. And then we shifted and said, okay, I got with a company that had a good 401k and a match, and we started investing in that and never stopped.
And so we highly encourage both spouses to take advantage of your
Yes,
401k plan. So we're not saying one or the other. We want you to do both.
absolutely.
So if you want to really win, you want to
Ooh,
make
man.
sure that you take advantage of everything that is available to you. So here is one exercise I might encourage you to do is if you actually have any debt, look at the total amount per month that you're spending on debt and add it up. I'll throw our number out there. Our number was over $1,000 a month in debt payments. And so when that is gone, when you've paid the debt off, consider how much investing you can do with that
Oh
money.
man, you can fully fund a Roth.
Right, because fully funding a Roth is around $583 per month. And so not only could we have invested in our 401k plans up to the match, but we could do a Roth IRA as well. It took us a few years to get to the place where we were doing our Roth IRAs, just like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But people think it's insurmountable numbers, right? And if we're thinking about $1,000 per month, that's actually half of today's maximum that you can put into a 401k in general. And so when you're thinking about it, like I don't want you to think about something that's being taken from you. Actually, let's think about something is shifting from one place that you are sending it out in your budget to another. When you get free of your debt, it makes it so much more easy to think about being able to invest in in any type of retirement vehicle. And so it's not new money. It's just shifted money from one thing to the other. And how much could you do? So calculate it and then see what that looks like. What is the percentage that might be at your place of work, or how much could you put into a Roth IRA on a monthly basis? Just do that as an exercise because that makes it more real. It makes it real for your life. It makes it real for you. And so that to me is exciting because then it's like I said, it's not huge sacrifices. You're just moving money. When you pay off the debt, it makes it easy to know where it's going next.
So we talked about when should you start, and we say start early if possible, but it's never too late. We talked about what you should
Like where you
invest in.
should
Where you should
invest.
invest is a 401k, or depending upon where your place of employment is, a SEP IRA, solo 401k, 403b, all those different things. Now, how should you invest? So this is where we're going to tell you we are not investment
Yes,
professionals.
wait a minute.
Okay.
Alert, alert, alert.
We are not giving investment advice or
No.
anything.
No.
So you're going to have to consult a professional
Yes.
on how you should invest.
So we're not going to tell you like the investment.
Yes. We're not going to say go invest in this fund or do this, but
none of that.
What I will say is there are a number of ways you can invest your funds. And this is where you have conversation with your investment professional. Because like at most corporations that have 401k plans, they have a date-based fund. And that is based upon when you will be 65 and retire. And it will be a mix of mutual funds in that date-based fund. So it could be some of America's best and brightest companies. It could have some foreign, some international funds. It could have some bond portion within that. And so a date-based fund, it takes all the guesswork out of it because those fund managers, they typically index to the S&P 500 to make sure that you get rates of return that will match what you would get on the S&P 500. And so a date-based fund, it's probably okay because you can look and see what the breakdown is. But this is the thing I say people have to determine. Determine your level of risk. Because if you're younger and you have the benefit of time, I think you could be a little more risky because if the market goes up, you can reap the benefit. But when the market goes down and you lose some of those funds, now mind you, losses aren't final until you withdraw. So even if the market goes down and your account says you lost money, you still hold those shares. So when the market rebounds, you potentially will recoup that money that you've lost because we've been in the market for a long time. And I've seen our accounts go up and go down and go up and go down. But over time, they level out and we still net a positive return. So, and that's why I keep saying ask questions, because there are many different types of accounts. There are growth based accounts, aggressive growth based accounts, international funds, they're large caps, mid caps, small caps. And people may be saying, well, what does all that mean? Start doing research so that you fully understand. So when you go to your investment professional, you go with a series of questions, because questions are what help me always understand over the course of time what we should be doing, how we should be doing. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what questions to ask when you go in, because it seems so daunting. But they say, how do you eat an elephant? Is one bite at a time.
So
I get excited. I get
sometimes
excited about this part of it.
sometimes I think you miss your calling, because I was just sitting here like, why didn't you become an investment
Oh
advisor?
my
Because I
God.
think you literally, this is like a side passion of yours, if
It's
you
never,
will.
maybe, maybe it's never too late.
Maybe it's not, because you honestly you could. But listen, this is what I was gonna say is, if you don't have an investment advisor, start with their plan administrator at the company where you work.
Yes.
Talk to the people that are, again, accessible, close by, or even at your banking institution, because the other thing is, if it just, knowledge occurs in conversation. And so you don't necessarily have to go get an investment advisor if you are you know really just investing at your place of work. Talk to the plan administrator. Make sure that you have that conversation. And then the other thing I would say is, look at the funds that you have at work. Research them. Look at what you have, again, in front of you, instead of going new places and trying to find new things. Study and understand you were talking about the date-based funds or the age-based funds, and see what they have available and how they operate. What are their returns? How long have they been inception? That kind of stuff. And
You got to look at the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year, and not all funds have been in existence for the same amount of time.
right.
So you have to try and get some baseline, because there's some funds that are new,
Yeah.
and there's some funds that are old but they're closed.
So the thing that I would say about age-based funds is, it changes as you age, right? So
Yes, that's a good point.
so right now, for our young people that are in our home, or I should say that, our
That are out
kids,
there in
they,
general.
if you're in your 20s, it's going to be, like you said, more risky. But by the time you hit your 50s, it's going to be a bit more conservative, because you don't want to take your money out when the market is volatile and is down potentially. A lot of people have been experiencing that over the last, several weeks. It's like, oh Lord, it's down, I don't want to take money out. Great. But if you are in an age-based fund, then what happens is, as you get closer to retirement age, you're not going to see the huge fluctuations. Your fluctuations are going to be smaller,
Smaller.
because they are
They are more like
changing.
ripples versus
Yeah,
waves.
right. And so that is one of the benefits of that. Plus, right, it's managed well. Like, you don't even have to think too much about it. They're looking at when you potentially retire. And then if you change your retirement date, that's something also
Yeah.
to think about. But it just makes investing a little bit easier. Now, actively managed, where, you potentially have a few different kinds of stocks and, mutual funds and bonds and all of that. You that requires, to me, a financial advisor to really help you in that particular situation. So you want to make sure that you're not, I would not take on the responsibility of thinking I know how to manage
Right.
funds. We know enough to be dangerous, and we're not trying to start no fires over here. Like, we just want to make sure our money grows well. But if you take that on yourself to try and determine what to put your
It's
money in, that can be challenging. You
that's
might you
why
might wish you hadn't done that.
that's why it's good to work with a professional,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can talk to them. But as you were talking, I was thinking, like, as we have conversations with, people. I know I have these conversations all the time with people at work who've been, they're mid-career people,
You
but
give a lot of free investing
but
advice.
they don't know what they're doing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they've been in the market for 10, 15, 20 years and they don't know.
Yeah.
And I think about conversations we have with our kids or other young adults. And I hear our daughter say this all the time, our youngest. She says, man, there's a lot to know
Yeah.
as an adult. You start dissecting life and all the decisions that you have to make. And I really don't want to overcomplicate this for people because you really just have to know when to start as quickly as possible. And I keep reiterating this because I want it to be simple. Where to invest, 401k, SEP IRA, and look at some of those simple things. Then how you invest is the different types of funds, and that's where you talk to a professional. But I think we start to get into another area is what does retirement look like for you? Because we talk about doing all these things, but what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
And so I started to think about you have to chart what life looks like for you at another phase. And I think about us personally, we've always said that we really love and enjoy travel. And so a big portion of our retirement will include some form of travel. And that may be, a couple of, big trips a year. We like to go to other countries, other places, and experience those different cultures. So for us, we need to be able to pay for that and fund that in retirement. And so we have to factor that in as an expense that we will incur annually in our retirement. So that needs to be part of our annual retirement income, in addition to our daily living expenses, because we won't have a mortgage. We'll only have, utilities and things like that, food, clothing, automobiles, maintenance, and, factor in when we need to replace automobiles. Those are all things that you have to figure out. But I think that's where you get to dream a little bit as well. Like, what do I want to do in, my next act, or that other phase of life? Because what we're doing, we're spending a lot of time, I say in the first half of life, preparing for the second half of life.
And the second half is actually more expensive because one of the biggest things is healthcare, and potential,
Yep.
just preventive maintenance, as well as, just
All of that.
having prescriptions and that kind of thing. And so I think that's kind of a hidden cost that we don't think will occur, but really it is quite expensive. And so that
It's an
is
important thing to plan for.
it is. And so, but what you just mentioned is that you need a retirement budget. And I think a lot of
Girl,
people.
it doesn't matter what it is. You're going to come up with a budget
I
for
sure
it.
am. But you just described a budget. You said all of your utilities. You said your travel costs. How you want to live. And I'm saying healthcare. That's a budget. And so,
I'm telling people to dream. You like, look, be on the budget.
right, put it
But
down on paper. Okay.
I'm an advocate of a plan, just as you. I
But
just thought it was funny.
All it is writing down
Yep.
the estimate. And so honestly, the simplest way to look at this is what we've done and continue
What the
to
Bible say? Write the vision, make it plain, so that he who readeth it can run with it.
Yep. And so all we did, honestly, all we needed to do right now, because we already, like to travel and we have those things as a part of our plan for the year, what have you. But we take out the mortgage, and everything else is pretty similar. We might have a little less food because kids might not come home as, you know what I mean? They'll be on their own, that kind of thing. But
They
really,
already think we don't eat because they come home, they're like, where the food at?
but you take that number, and that's the number per month that you need to estimate in retirement. And so your investments need to be able to produce that amount of money per month. And so I don't.
They need to produce that in income,
Right.
or interest, because what people have to understand, when you save in your 401k or whatever you're saving in, it may be a lump sum, but you're taking out pieces of that and you're gaining interest on that money. And if you can gain enough interest, maybe you're taking enough money out where you're not even depleting the.
Well, yeah, so that's what you're describing is live on the interest.
Yes.
Preferably, so that you're not diminishing
The principal
balance of your retirement accounts. And so, yeah, that's ideal. That's the ideal situation. But if you don't know what the amount per month is that you need to live on in retirement, then
you can't make a plan.
You can't really make a plan. But it's just an estimate. That's the thing, is we don't know. We just want to be, realistic enough that we have a number.
We're in the ballpark.
Yeah, and we have a number. So really, retirement is a mixture of the age, that you want to step away from working and not have income from work, and the amount of money you need to have at that time in order to not have to work outside the home. And so
That's
that
daunting when you think about. I think that's the one thing people when they think about retirement. That's probably the most frightening part is stepping away from work or what you were doing that produced an income.
the guaranteed portion,
Right. And now
right?
you're like, uh-oh, I don't have a guaranteed income. But you don't have to be frightened and it doesn't have to be daunting when you've planned.
And hopefully, if you have set dollars aside, like we said in the beginning, or if you have paid off all your debt, including your home, or you have worked together as a team and both of you are taking advantage of any retirement vehicles that you have, then the fear can be reduced, especially when you
Yeah.
actually have a professional helping you to ensure that what you're estimating is based in some historical, factors that are going to produce the kind of money that you think
I
that it's
think
going to
I
produce.
think that's what leads you to what I would say is a final phase of what we're talking about is ultimately when you know that you're ready to walk away.
Hmm.
Because when you put all those things in place, you started, you got into the right, types of investment, you invested in different types of things, you know what you're investing for and how you want to live, then you can make that determination like, okay, I'm in a position where I can walk away from a daily work that produces income. And maybe you go off and you do something, a hobby or you have passion projects or you just go and you just enjoy life. Spend time with your grandkids or, doing whatever it is that you want to do.
Hmm.
I used to joke and say, man, when I retire, I'm just going to get up and put a suit on and read the newspaper, which they don't even deliver
You such
papers
an old
anymore.
fogey. You such an
Right.
old
It's like
fogey.
I used to think like well, life has changed. I don't even think they still produce the newspaper.
I don't know.
I don't know. We
I,
used to buy the Sunday. Remember, we used to buy the Sunday newspaper, and we would
yeah,
look
we
at.
did, and I would get the coupons.
Yeah, we haven't
Hmm.
done that in years. I don't even know if they
No.
still print papers like that anymore.
But
But
I know somebody who's on the board for an actual newspaper, which I think is interesting. I don't know where they sell them.
yeah,
I don't see them. I
you
don't
know
know.
what?
I think they might have put out
I'm
the
gonna
paper
look.
boy,
I'm
and
gonna look
he out of
for.
business.
I'm gonna look for a newspaper this week.
Oh Lord.
I'm just curious now. It's
Okay.
just prompted me to be like, I'm gonna go try and find a Sunday newspaper and see if they have it. I'm gonna get laughed at probably. The Sunday newspaper? Who? Nobody does that. You
Because it
go
used to be
online.
outside the grocery store. You used to be able
Used
to
to
get
go
it
to
at
the
the
grocery store and
yeah.
get that the thick newspaper that
Oh
had
my
all the
God.
stuff.
You are
Boy,
wild.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna see if I can find one. But let's talk about make it worth it. So what would you say at this point? We talk about investing today so you can thrive tomorrow. What's your make it worth it?
I'm not ready for make it worth it. I don't know. Because there's so many things in this.
There's so much we could talk about here.
I know. I'm a punt to you. How about, do you have one?
You know, I would say my make it worth it when it comes to investing and retirement. Just go and seek out some knowledge so you can understand. Because when you understand, you can start to put a plan in place that is actionable. So for me, my make it worth it is go get some understanding. One, understand what you can invest in, what's available to you through an employer, if you're self-employed, and then understand what goes into that. That's why I say get education because it's multifaceted, the education that you will need to get. And that will make it worth it for you because you will understand. And as you understand, you can be better informed in the decisions that you begin to make. So that's what I say.
Okay. And I appreciate that because I think that my make it worth it is different. It is honestly, I think a lot of people need to understand that your plan doesn't have to look like anybody else's plan.
That's true.
So everybody's at a different phase in life, a different age, a different type of career path. You might have older kids when you're 50 or younger kids. You know what I mean? Like your situation is unique to you.
Yes.
And therefore, your retirement forecast and plan will be unique to you. And so I would say, in terms of making it worth it, don't let somebody else's their life and what they're doing influence you to do exactly what they're doing, be okay with the fact that your plan is different, your timeline is different, your household is different, and use that to your advantage, because the truth of the matter is that your plan should be just as unique as you. And so, like I said, to come back to, you might decide that paying off the house is the biggest thing for you to do, or you might decide that you really want to ensure that you get that Roth IRA so that it can grow tax free, or you might decide, wait a minute, my company plan is amazing and I'm going to max everything out. Make your plan yours. And you know, when you do that, when you're looking at your budget for retirement and that kind of stuff, again, that is unique to you. And so I just want people to realize that
your plan is your plan.
When you're going through trying to figure it all out, just know that it's okay for yours to look different than somebody else's, because you're different than somebody else.
Yeah, and there's so much here that we could talk about this. Maybe in future episodes we'll break this down a little bit more. But, you know, if you're not subscribed to us, follow us on YouTube, press that subscribe button. Let us know, you know, drop it in the comments, you know, wherever you're watching, because we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure we come back to some of these topics, because at the end of the day, we want to see you win. And so until next time,
we're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on forbetterandworth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.